So, what do you do when you feel just completely stuck? Well, there's a simple 3 step philosophy for that, one that's gone viral for a really good reason. Today, we're going to break down the 3 keys that can help you unlock pretty much any situation.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. Maybe it's a problem at work, a really tough conversation you've been putting off, or a personal goal you just can't seem to reach. It just feels like you're slamming your head against a brick wall. There's just no clear path forward.
It's literally like being locked in a room and you just can't find the way out. You can push on the door, you can jiggle the handle, but nothing is working. And that feeling of being trapped, it's so frustrating, right? And just totally exhausting. But what if the problem isn't the lock, but the key you're using? Well, this incredibly simple piece of wisdom gives us 3 master keys: accept, change, and let go. And look, don't let how simple this sounds fool you. The real magic, the secret sauce, is the order you use them in.
Okay, and this is maybe the most important part of the whole thing. This isn't some buffet where you just pick the one you like. No, it's a workflow, a sequence. You have to try them in a specific order. You start with the first one, and you only move to the next if it doesn't work. That sequence is the absolute secret to finding clarity. So let's dive in and start with that very first key.
All right, so here we go. The first key, acceptance. But what does that actually mean? Because it's not what most people think. Yeah, it's so important we get this right. Let's be super clear. Acceptance is not defeat. It's not giving up. It's not saying you're happy about the situation. It's just the simple act of looking at reality without blinking and saying, okay, this is what's happening. This is where I am. You have to stop wasting all that energy fighting reality before you can even figure out what to do next. I love this way of thinking about it. You can't plan a road trip until you know your starting point on the map, right? Acceptance is that little "you are here" pin. It's always the first key you gotta try. Okay, but what happens when you try that key and the lock just won't turn? What if the situation is just not acceptable to you? Well, that's when you move on to the second key in our sequence: change. So, change. This is the key of action. This is where you take your power back and actively work to make things different. But, and this is a huge but, where you point that energy, that makes all the difference. And this is where it gets really interesting. Look, trying to change other people, it's like trying to push a rope. It's just draining, it leads to so much frustration, and honestly, it almost never works. But if you take that exact same energy and turn it inward to change your own reactions, your own habits, your own perspective, well, that's where real growth happens. That's empowerment. That's something you actually control. All right, so you've hit the end of the road. You've tried to accept it, and you just can't. You've tried to change it, but it's completely out of your hands. This is when it's time to reach for that third and final key: letting go. And again, we have to be really clear about what this means. Letting go is not forgetting. It's an active, conscious choice to release your grip on something you can't control. Honestly, it's one of the greatest acts of self-compassion there is. You're freeing yourself from a weight you were never meant to carry in the first place. I just love this quote from the source material because it gets right to the heart of it. The whole point isn't to become cold or detached. It's about finding peace. You gently let go of all that anxiety so you can finally, warmly embrace yourself. So when you step back and look at all 3 keys together, you see how they're designed to work in harmony. It stops being just a little trick for solving problems and becomes, well, kind of like a philosophy for life. It's a way to reduce that internal friction and find your natural flow. So there you have it. This is your toolkit for life's challenges. When you feel stuck, just pull these out. First, you've got acceptance. That's your foundation. That's how you get clear. Then you've got change. That's your tool for taking empowered action. And finally, letting go. That's your pathway to inner peace. And all of this leads to this really beautiful final thought from the source. Once you've really gone through this process, you've honestly tried to accept, you've genuinely tried to change, or you've made the brave choice to let go, you can finally rest. You've done your best. And now you can just trust the flow.
And that really just leaves us with one final powerful question for you to think about. Right now, in your own life, with whatever it is you're facing, which key do you really need to use?